Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Kevin Elko. Hope everybody is doing really well. I want to welcome all of you to the Southeastern Mine Safety and Health Conference. And by the way, I want to tell all of you I'm looking forward to seeing you in 2021 in Birmingham. I am looking so forward to being there in person. I'm going to be looking forward I might even get teared up when I see you guys in person. So I'm looking forward to it. I love being in Alabama. Matter of fact, watch, I don't get in Alabama much these days. So I do this to me once a day just so I can think about Alabama. Ready? That's to get all you ready for 2021. That's to hold you over, because we'll see you all in Birmingham in 2021. But for now, you're going to have to put up with me and my dogs playing poker on a virtual call. I'm going to talk to you guys about nerves of steel. I'm talking about nerves of steel. How to be mentally tough during these times. Wouldn't you agree it calls on us to be mentally tough during these times? To be really, really tough. You know, if you don't learn how to use your mind, you'll lose your mind. To be mentally tough. When this was in the Journal of the American Medical Association, 70% of the people today, 70% of the people in the United States, 7 out of 10, say that this is the lowest they've ever been. 7 out of 10. This is tough business here. This was in the Journal of the American Psychological Association, where this is collectively the most unhappy we've been for 50 years. It's happening with our kids. They are reporting the same sort of statistics. 41% of all ingoing freshmen this year said they were stressed and depressed. Between the ages of 12 and 17, 3.2 million youth in the United States say that they are stressed and depressed. In those colleges, 43% said they are already overwhelmed. School just started, and 60% say they have no idea where to go get help. Anxiety is literally twice as high right now as it was a year ago. We need help. And the answer is, how do you use your mind? It's the same with safety. If I know how to use my mind and to focus and be locked in. Nerves of steel is about how to use your mind. If you don't use your mind, you're going to lose your mind. And unfortunately, we don't know how to use our mind like a tool. If you don't use your mind, you're going to lose your mind. So this talk is going to be a lot about how do you use your mind? How do you get locked in? I'm going to talk to you about a number of things. What actually is it to have nerves of steel? It's about being resilient. We'll talk about that. How do I become resilient? It's about training your mind on what to ignore and how to lock in. Oh, this is going to be good today. I'm going to get good in a minute. I'm going to get good here in a minute. So I want to talk to you about those things. How do we lock our mind in? How do we have nerves of steel? And so the outside world is all over the place, but not my inside world. It's steel. The power of a steel mind. Nerves of steel means my nerves are set. They're solid. They're strong. So I'm going to talk to you about how do we ignore things. I'm going to explain and define resiliency. What is it? I'm going to go into this whole concept of private speech, how we talk to ourselves. And then I'm going to talk about connection. You know, I've read research and I've been so lucky to work with you guys. You know, when people care for other people, when people are doing it for something beside them, and they realize all the things that other people have done for them, and they have that mindset at work, there's not injuries. So we are going to talk about how you talk to you. We're going to talk about how you can ignore things, how you use your mind, but also others. I spoke to Alabama Roll Tide football team just the other day. See a little bling bling right there? I'm sorry. It's so shiny. It almost messes the screen. It's almost shiny. It glares a little bit because all them little diamonds right there. Sorry about that. You know how women say diamonds are girls' best friend? I like them too. But this is why. So before we do this, why nerves of steel? Why safety? Why? And I showed Alabama team a clip from Saving Private Ryan. This actually happened in the Civil War, and it was just redone by Steven Spielberg. In the Civil War, 4 brothers went to war, and 3 were killed. And a letter came to Abraham Lincoln that there was 1 left. And he goes, I don't want to go tell the mother. I just don't want to go tell the mother that all of her sons were killed. So he sent out a group of soldiers to go bring that soldier back safely. And that's what happened in Saving Private Ryan. It was a Normandy invasion. And actually, my mother lost her brother, my uncle I never met, in the Normandy invasion. And what happened was 3 brothers in this movie were killed. And there was a 4th brother still alive behind the enemy lines in Normandy. And the General Marshall sent 7 soldiers out to bring the soldier back because he was the only surviving one of the brothers. They fought all their way and made it to Private Ryan. And the captain of this group was Richard Hanks. I'm sorry, Tom Hanks. Got that one mixed up. Maybe Tom had a brother, Richard. It was Tom Hanks. And all these men went in, and all 7 of them trying to rescue Private Ryan were eventually killed. But they rescued him. The 7 gave their life to rescue him. And on a bridge, Tom Hanks, dying, had a conversation with Private Ryan. Private Ryan said, you guys all gave up your life. You guys all gave up your life so I can live. And Tom Hanks said, you're right. He was a young man at the time, Private Ryan. He said, now go make your life worth it. We sacrificed for you. And then last scene of the movie, he's at Tom Hanks' grave in Normandy. And he's an old man, and he has his family with him. And he kneels down in front of this cross and says, I've thought about what you said every day. I live full. I did what you said. And then his wife came beside him. He said, tell me I was a good man. Tell me I lived my life. And she just took her hand across his face and said, you lived your life, and you're a good man. We have to have a motivation for being safe. We have to have a motivation for nerves of steel. How about who gave you the job? How about your family? A reason. How about all the other women, men around you? Go be accountable to you. And it all starts with thinking. Safety starts in the mind. It starts in the mind. Safety starts with our mindset, how we think. That's why I clap that you guys are doing this. If you're with me, clap one time. Just give me one of those. You gotta have a reason why. That's where we start. They have nerves of steel. USA Hockey was picked to win the gold medal in the Olympics in Japan. They did not. The Czech Republic did. Captain was a guy named Jaromir Jagr. Where's the number 68 when he plays? Because 1968 was the year of the Russian occupation of Czechoslovakia. They beat everybody. They beat Canada gold medal game before Russia. Referee walked in and said, ice time. This guy stood up. He said, I waited my whole life for today. I dedicate this to my grandfather and anyone who lost their life during the occupation. Over. You have to have a 68. Here's why I'm doing it. Here's why I'm doing it. Go make your life worth it. Act like what you do matters. And it will. Act like what you do impacts other people's lives. And it will. And keep your eye on, this is my 68. Here's why we're doing this. And it comes down to, all this evidence says is people who live their life in a way. People who live their life. And they go about. And they're thinking about doing it, not for them, but others. Strong. They're stronger than new rope. Strong. James Braddock was like that. You know, what's your 68? USA Hockey was picked to win that gold medal in the Olympics in Japan. The Czech Republic won it. Captain was this Jaromir Jagr. Whereas number 68 plays because 1968 was the year of the Russian occupation of Czechoslovakia. They beat everybody. Again, everybody. Story over. Again. They beat Canada gold medal game before Russia. Referee walked in and said, ice time. This guy stood up and said, I waited my whole life for today. I dedicate this to my grandfather, anyone who lost their life during the occupation. You're 68. James Braddock, just mentioned a minute ago, found his 68. You find what it is and you do it for other people. James Braddock was an average boxer. And he tried to make money by being an average boxer. And he lost his family. Couldn't feed him. They went and stayed with somebody else. He became a champion. Someone said, you're different. Press conference. You were average before, now you're great. He said, I'm boxing for something different. Milk. I am my sister's and my brother's keeper. My safety has to do with my family. It's something beside me. Look outside you. Have a reason why you're doing it. Go live well. Other people have sacrificed. I don't care where you are, what you're doing for you to be where you are. Honor them. I was walking with my daughter who's going to college. And I said, look. I go, look. I need to tell you something. I go, I make it look like and don't talk about all the sacrifice went into getting you. She's in the honors college at UCLA. My son, same thing at DePaul. I go, you did it. But don't forget all the sacrifice that took place to get you there. Honor it. Live your life full. Living well is what I ask of all of you. Why nerves of steel, Kev? Because safety starts with the mind. Safety starts in the mind. And the whole thing starts with your thinking. And what I want you to do is keep the reason why over and over. Two things to say to yourself, why and because. Now, I believe in what you're doing. I do talks, I think they're important. Win a football game. How about saving lives? How about everybody coming home at night? How about caring for one another? We don't have enough of that anymore. Everybody's about themselves. We live in a Burger King world. I want it my way. No, wait a minute. It's all of our ways. It's all of us. James Stockdale. Let's go next step. Let's talk culture. James Stockdale was shot down in Vietnam. Highest ranking official ever shot down. Ever. He was an admiral. He's coming down to the ground. As he's coming down to the ground, he's thinking, in the Korean conflict, Americans killed Americans. They competed. They competed with one another. And what they would do is they would get them in contests and say, you're going to get in a fight and one of you is going to kill the other. And if you don't, we're going to kill you both. James Stockdale said that will never happen under my watch. Leadership. So he taught one thing, U.S. That's all he taught. John McCain was in that camp. They tried to release him. He goes, I won't take it, U.S. They tortured people, U.S. Solitary confinement for years, nothing on but pajama bottoms. They communicated by knocking. U.S., that's all they talked about. That's all they thought about. U.S. stood for unity over self. It's a choice. First step, why? Second, unity. Bring everybody together. We disagree on everything. My goodness, I sat down in the field the other night and politics came up. One group was on one side, the other group was on the other. I thought, you know what? We need to get the gloves out right here. We're split on everything anymore. But what's beautiful about this, we can come together on this. It's unreal. We come together, unity over self, safety. It's unreal. Robert O'Neill left the George W. Bush administration, run Alcoa. He came and he talked about one thing, safety. That's all he talked about. The stockholders thought, what the heck's going on? Came back the second time, that's all he talked about. It's called Keystone Habits. They're finding when your safety's up, of course, everybody feels good about it. Morale goes up and profits go up. There were no injuries at all at Alcoa his first year. The stock doubled. By the time he was done, it's 5 times the price. Everybody's safe, morale's up, everybody's joined in. Isn't this wonderful? We found something. We found something. Why should we be safe? Because of all people, everybody, all in. Locked in, within, all in. Because, what's the because? Because it is going to be something we're going to return everybody home every night. It's a team thing. One of the most important things we could do. And lastly, we're united over self. Let's find something we can come together around, and then all things come together. My mother taught one thing in our home growing up. You're going to love one another. That's all. It's a choice, ain't a feeling. And I do with mine. They love each other. They're totally different. My mother said, and it's here, I'll be gone one day. My mom's gone. She had faith in me. Man, I'm going to miss her. She had all kind of faith in me. But we loved each other. We loved each other. And we still do. We're drastically different, but we love each other. Nerves of steel. How do I have my mind at a place where it's locked in, everything's coming within, and we're all in? Nerves of steel. Well, in times of uncertainty, it's tough. This is uncertain times. What's going forward with our economy? What's going forward with our economy? What's going forward with our day-to-day? What's going forward with our kids? Who's going to lead our country? What's going to happen with our own company? You have to find a way to learn to live with uncertainty. And it's sort of a myth that we always ever did think we had certainty. So you have nerves of steel, have to understand the key is come back. Come back after a setback. Resiliency is the key to nerves of steel. Can I come back after a setback? Martin Seligman, University of Pennsylvania. Angela Duckworth, University of Pennsylvania, leading researcher on grit. Carol Dweck, Stanford, leading researcher on mindset, has done all this work on resiliency. It is the number one factor in us being a success today, resiliency. Coming back after a setback. Number one, can I come back after a setback? Strong. Everybody has to come back after a setback. If you don't know what's around that, you're in trouble. First of all, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your company. You have to believe in this country. Malcolm Gladwell did this fabulous research on small business success in New York City. Number one factor he saw was dyslexia. Dyslexia is when a challenge you can't read. Everything's backwards. It's turned around. And they were the number one characteristic of people that are successful. Why? Because when they had dyslexia, they learned how to work harder. Then watch this, they labeled themselves as harder workers. That's the important part. How do you see you? And then they overdeveloped their verbal communication skills because they couldn't read. And then they labeled themselves as a communicator. What we're doing is more what we're doing. It's who we are, baby. This is who we are. This isn't what we do. They labeled themselves because of it. I'm sure some people got diagnosis of whatever and said, well, I am that. I'm no good. I can't do this. I can't do that. They said, watch me rise above it. You were born for the storm. The calm doesn't suit you. Come on now. I'm from West Virginia. You know, I'm from a bunch of coal miners from West Virginia. We know wild. We know crazy. And the good part about this is when you go through what we're going through and you get through it, you give yourself a label. I got through that, didn't I? I got through that one. Some of the people said the happiest time of their life, they were in London, was during the bombings. Happy. Yeah, Hitler didn't chase us away. We rose above it. This is from an Orson Welles movie. For 50 years, Italy had bloodshed, famine, pandemic. They gave us Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. For 500 years, Switzerland had prosperity and peace, and they gave us the cuckoo clock. Yeah, I understand the bad side about this, but the good side is we can rise above and we can get tougher. And after we rise above and got tougher, we'll give ourselves a label. I'm tougher. I was born for the storm. Calm doesn't suit me. Come on now. I need me some cowboys, some cowgirls up in here. I'm going to get good in a minute. Come on. Resiliency. Can I come back from a setback? Get a label. I've got to get that label. Who am I? To come back from a setback. They carried me out of my house in an ambulance a few years ago. And it didn't happen to me, it happened for me. Come back from a setback. It changed me. I knew I had to come back. I got kids. See, I want to go to my kid's wedding. I want to do my little cabbage patch at their wedding. It's my job. It's daddy's job to annoy his kids. May I make an announcement on behalf of the AARP? I can still drop it like it's hot. I can't pick it up anymore. But now catch what I'm saying to you. Let's get an identity. Do we a bunch of strong suchy suches? We're a bunch of resilient suchy muches. Don't play with us. What Caleb said, 80 years old, give me a mountain to climb. Because after I get done with that mountain, I'm going to call me a mountain climber. After you spend time in Alabama, you call yourself the Crimson Tide. Sorry, y'all, all you Auburn folks. I love you. You know I love you now. Let's not start no mess. There won't be no mess. So this whole thing of nerves of steel, it starts with resiliency. Let me come back from a setback and let me see myself as a comebacker. Come back from a setback. When they carry me out of here, I just said, I got to do the things that I'm a comebacker. Now, and this is a big point in happy. This is a good big point in nerves of steel, big point in resiliency, but it's a huge point in safety. You have to learn to ignore. You have to train your minds to ignore. You have to train your minds on what not to pay attention to. You have to train your mind. I'm sitting out on my deck, my upper porch. I get a phone call. Hey, Kev. Ron Rivera, now coach the Washington football team. They used to be called the Redskins. And he's the head football coach. He calls me. He goes, Kevin, did you see in the paper I've got cancer? I said, I did see it in USA Today. He said, well, I got an old friend. I'm the old friend. I'm not old. Just a quick aside, this widower was by himself, and so they decided to send a prostitute over to visit him. Prostitute came to the door, rang the doorbell. She said, I'm here to give you super sex. He said, at my age, I think I'll just take the soup. Well, I'm the old friend. I just got a little bit of gray here and there, just a little bit, but I got an old friend that told me nothing happens to me, everything happens for me. Ron, let me go with what you just said. Didn't your brother die of cancer 2.5 years ago? Yeah. Didn't your house burn down in Charlotte 2 years ago? Half of it burnt down? Yeah. Didn't you just get fired from the Carolina Panthers? Yeah. Didn't you take over the Washington, we don't have a name, and all you know what's been breaking loose since I got here? Yeah. Didn't you just get diagnosed with throat cancer? Yeah. It happened for you? I don't know. Sometimes my connection's bad on my phone. It happened for you? Yeah. Well, okay, let me sit back and let me get my pen and take notes on this one. How does this happen for you? He said, well, I'll learn how to love deeper, won't I? I'll learn how to enjoy every day deeper. You know how you spell the word love? I said, no, Ron, how you spell it? He goes, Time. I now know how I'll spend time. I'll be kinder. Woo. Anoint me. Then I said, Ron, see, to have nerves of steel, we've got one thing wrong. We think it's about adding positive. It's about getting rid of stuff, getting the negative out, getting our mind quiet. Wouldn't you guys say you're the same as the athlete? You ask the athlete, you were unbelievable today when you performed. What were you thinking? I wasn't. What exactly were you thinking? I wasn't thinking. I was lost in what I was doing. I wasn't thinking. I was lost in what I was doing. I've been through this a zillion times with athletes. And you're a corporate athlete. I said, Ron, I read a story about a woman who got cancer. And she decided not to pay attention to chemotherapy. She did the chemotherapy. She decided not to pay attention to the radiation. She did it. But she said our attention went to her walks, movies, and her 6:30 martini. Here's what safety is. Here's what nerves of steel is. Ready? The skillful management of attention. One more time. Here's what nerves of steel is. Here's what safety is. You have to put this everywhere. Your leadership has to teach it. The skillful management of attention. Today, with all the mental clutter, with all the stuff going on, it's a dangerous time. It's a dangerous time for our mental health. It's a dangerous time for our physical health. We make mistakes when we can't have the skillful management of our attention. The skillful management of attention. It's a big ball game. She said, I paid attention every day to my walks, movies, and my 6:30 martini. I said, Ron, happened for you. He said, I'll pay attention to my family, my faith, a job I love. If it's not that, I'll train my mind on what not to pay attention to. That's it. The skillful management of attention. They did a study out at Stanford. They took young people and put them on an MRI and flashed negative imagery, their brains fired. They flash positive imagery, their brains fired. They notice both. See, they're now changing how they view things. They took older, effective, happy people. They flashed positive imagery to them. Their brains noticed. They shot negative imagery. Their brains didn't notice at all. We're now finding that happy, effectiveness, and safety is not about being positive. It's the skillful management of attention and learning what to ignore, and then learning what to pay attention to. You learn what to ignore, then you learn what to pay attention to. I have a phrase I use with my football teams. See a little, see a lot. See a lot, see nothing. See a little, see a lot. See a lot, see nothing. See small things, see cues. This guy, Jamal Lewis, had 299 yards rushing against the Cleveland Browns. I went to the post-game conference to see how he did it. He said, I just paid attention to my cues. Everything else I ignored. That's good. Just pay attention to your cues, your work, being there for other people, caring about other people. Nerves of steel. During this time, there's so much mental clutter. There's so much stuff going on. Learn not to pay attention to it. I don't have opinions on a lot of stuff. I don't need opinions on a lot of stuff. I like to, with my mind, do simple better. That's a good safety thing. Just do simple better. The skillful management of attention. Whole ballgame. When I go on planes, I just came back from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Roll Tide. And they can get nasty on planes now. I walk in and I talk to me, the skillful management of attention. Watch what I say, because self-talk is the best way. Private speech is the best way for the skillful management of attention. I walk on a plane and go, Kevin. That's me. I'm Kevin. Kevin, just let the small negative things happen so you get the big positive things. We'll just say it like that. Just let the small negative things happen so you can get the big positive things. I go in one day and there's this guy up front, and I thought I was going from Pittsburgh to Atlanta. I thought I was in 1A, but I was in 10A, and I had to take my suitcase back because I got on late and all first class was full. So I took my suitcase back. I turned around, this big old boy's right in my face. He goes, kind of rude, you got to go back up there. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was going to have to go back up there. I got on the plane late and suitcases were full. And he said, still not right, still rude. I said, I'm sorry. And I had on a UCLA shirt. That's where my daughter goes. And he goes, and they stink. I just talked to me. I don't need to control him. I need to control me. Greater is he who can control himself than he who can control a great city. I just said to myself, just let the small negative things happen so you can get the big positive things. You know, even your relationships, if your spouse isn't with you right now, your significant other, when you see them, say this under your breath a lot. Let go of my need to be right. I might stay married a week or two after that. Just let it go. You don't have the luxury to just jump on every distraction. The opiate of today is distraction. We're addicted to distractions. Just let the small negative things happen so you can get the big positive things. I said, thanks for coaching me, sir. I'm crazy for Cocoa Puffs. I mean, the skillful management of attention. So what we've gotten into so far in this talk, nerves of steel, is why? Well, others, my well-being, your life supports and impacts so many people, and places that have that mindset, they don't have injury. They don't have safety problems. You have to have a why. And then you have to stay resilient. I have to keep coming back from any setback I've had. Don't let it dwell. Don't live in yesterday or you will be angry. Don't live in tomorrow and you'll be anxious. But today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Stay in today. Stay in today. The skillful management of attention. One of the phrases I use for the skillful management of attention is this phrase: be where your feet are. What does that mean? I'm with you. I'm with you at this safety conference right now. I'm not at 4 o'clock. I'm not at 5 o'clock. I'm not at an interview I'm doing later. I'm not at the smoothie I'm going to do after this. I'm right here with you. And when you teach be where your feet are, it means be in this spot, the skillful management of attention. And when we train our brains to do that, our brains are a muscle. We do that over and over again. We learn the skillful management of attention. We learn how to focus in. So let's keep on going with something I've kind of introduced to you. To have a safe, productive environment where morale was high, we need leadership. And we need leadership that teaches ownership. We need leadership that teaches ownership. That's what we need. We need ownership that teaches leadership. It's important. What does that mean? Leadership that teaches ownership. If something happens, I own it. We teach this everywhere I go. If you see something on the job, you own it. Ownership. I was working with a company, and it was a barge company, and the captain was driving, and he was with the CEO, and he looked down, and the guy who's driving said, "See that guy down there? If he keeps on doing what he's doing, he's going to lose his finger." So the CEO said to the riverboat captain, "Why don't you say something to him?" He says, "Not my finger." And he asked him to step down at that moment. "We'll find another captain. You're let go." Was the CEO wrong? You see it, you own it. That doesn't mean if that guy keeps on doing that behavior, "Not my finger." Well, we're talking about the exact opposite thing here. Yes, it is your finger. We're all connected to one body. It is your finger. Ownership. The best year of your life will be the year you take ownership of every challenge in your life. So before we get to everybody else, let's own you. The problem isn't that we don't own other people's behavior. We don't even own our own behavior. Harold Wilkie was an interesting figure to me. He was born without both arms, but he had a mother who understood ownership. And a mother understood ownership. And he had born without either arms. When George H.W. Bush signed the American Disabilities Act, there was the most people in the White House lawn ever in 1990. He signed it, said, "Let the walls of exclusion come tumbling down." Let the walls of exclusion come tumbling down. Then he handed the pen to somebody on his right. He signed it. He handed the pen to somebody on his left. That guy signed the American Disabilities Act. Then he handed it to Harold Wilkie, who was behind him with no arms. He took off his shoe and grabbed the pen with his foot, and he signed the document with his foot. Then he took with his foot the pen, the presidential pen, and slipped it into his pocket. The crowd erupted. Harold Wilkie went to a number of schools, a number of grade schools, and when he went to all these grade schools, they wouldn't let him in because he put a fork in his foot and ate. It freaked everybody out. Just freaked him out. Well, finally he got into a school. It was the first day of school. He was going home. And he was trying to put on his jacket. And his mother just watched. He was trying to put on his jacket, and his mother just watched. She didn't help him at all. Another mother was there, and she said, as she watched this mother do this, she said, "Why don't you help your son?" She said, "I am helping my son." Most parents do not allow their child to experience enough existential suffering to become an adult. We rescue them. But that being said, I'm not so sure that we don't need to be more like that mother to ourselves. Demand more ownership. Quit expecting somebody else to do it. The government, somebody else around me. They're not going to do it for you. The person you've been waiting on is you. You're here. No one else is coming. Get used to it. You are the person you've been waiting on. Charlie Wiedemeyer played football. This is ownership. From Michigan State, graduated in 1970, wanted to be a high school football coach, became the head football coach at Los Gatos High School, 1978. As soon as he got that job, he was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, lost ability to walk and to talk. But he owned it. This is what ownership looks like. This meant a word, this meant a word. Every time he moved his body, it meant a word. To his wife. Hey, sometimes as leaders and parents and coaches, we talk too much. He didn't talk at all. Every time he moved his body, it was a word. To his wife, given 1 year to live, couldn't talk. She coached a team. She did it. He didn't live a year, he lived 32 years. He's the winningest coach in the history of California football. He went 148, 14-1 because he owned it. Because he owned it. That's what ownership looks like. Here's what ownership is. Let's break this word down. Responding with ability, responsibility. We say, take responsibility. What's that mean? Respond with ability, not respond with disability. That's what it means. It starts with ownership. I own this. I own it. This will be a great year. Now, let's get to private speech. I got all these rings here. I've got rings. I've got the U here. That's the U. I got the Eagles, who played miserable, terrible yesterday. I hope they enjoy this one, because the way they played yesterday, they ain't going to be. No, I don't want to say it. I got to be positive. I got all these from Coach Saban down in Alabama. He ain't real pleasant, Coach isn't. Like a typical day as you go in there and I say, "Coach, what you want me to say to the team?" How in the blank do I know? If I knew what the blank to say, I would have said it. Well, roll tide. Got a big old boy right here from LSU down on the bayou. Some crawdads. Got this one from Florida State. That's a wild one. Those teams all have a language. For example, let me do Florida State. They have a language. We're playing Auburn in the national championship. I told them this the night before. Are you strong? I'm strong if you're strong. I'm strong. That's all they would walk around and say. Are you strong? I'm strong if you're strong. Are you safe? I'm safe if you're safe. I'm safe then. So we got down 3 touchdowns in that game, but that was our language. We just spoke it. I have a book out right now called Believing is Seeing. Now think about that title. Believing is Seeing. That's my book out right now. It's a good book. This isn't an advertisement. You get it on Amazon.com. Believing is Seeing. If you believe something, we can all be safe. We can all be strong. We can be happy. We can even like working here. You start to see what you believe. But the first chapter was written by Coach Saban, Nick Saban. That's the power of words. The power of words. At Florida State, we got down by 3 touchdowns, and Jameis Winston, our quarterback, would come in the huddle and go, "Are you strong? I'm strong if you're strong. I'm strong then." Nerves of steel, locked in, within, all in. Hit a pass with Kelvin Benjamin a minute to go. We won the game. At Alabama, we have a language. Here's one of them. It's on the inside of this ring. Keep carrying the water until it becomes wine. That's about grit. We have a language. It says on the inside of this ring. This one right here. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. And we just speak the language all the time, constantly. Successful places have their own language. When I was at the Philadelphia Eagles, this year we won it, the whole phrase was real easy. Ownership. Spoke about nothing else. A great leader says one thing 10,000 times. A poor one, 10,000 different things once. That's all we talked about. A language. And I'm going to ask you to speak a language out loud. I go to NFL combines and we interview all these athletes. And I'm going to give you a little tip. I ask them this question. Tell me the best game you ever had in your life. And I got this from an article in the Wall Street Journal. If that athlete says to me, they're from all over the country trying to get in the NFL, the word I or me, we pass. We pass. If they say the word we, isn't safety we? We keep them. We go after them. It's how they speak. It's their language. I want to hear the way they talk to them, but I want them to say it out loud. I want them to say this word. Ready? I want them to say, I decided, not I felt. I felt will get you in a mess. It's a choice. I had a talk with my kids at dinner last night, and we were actually talking about them bones, them dry bones. I read them the story about those dry bones and prophesizing to the bones. Remember they used to sing that song in Sunday school? Them bones, them dry bones. Oh, you don't remember that? You don't remember the foot bone's connected to the ankle bone's connected to the leg bone. I'm sorry. The leg bone connected to the knee bone. And I kept telling them, even though they were talking to the bones, they had to keep on going and being obedient and choosing to have faith that the bones were going to come to life. And I said to my kids, that's your life as you go off to college. You're going to find some dry bones. But if you keep a faith and you keep on speaking to them bones, that bone will become, those bones become an army. You got to get to the point where you're saying, how am I going to talk to me? And your speech has to have faith, but it's I decided, not I felt. I felt like quitting. I feel like cussing. I feel like telling somebody off. Even the bad habits you may have with tobacco or drinking. Choose. Dwight Eisenhower smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. How'd you stop? He said, I gave myself an order. Them bones, them dry bones. He said, I gave myself an order. The foot bone connected to the ankle bone. It's a choice. Quit talking about I feel. Talk about I decided. And quit walking around talking about what you don't want. Talk about what you do want. Everybody's safe. Everybody going home. Us going to the next level. High morale. People loving where they work. Working where they love. Talk about what you do want. Speak it. My word shall not come back void unto me. I'll decree a thing be made manifest unto me. I'll speak those things as not as if they are. Resiliency. Nerves of steel. Coming back after a setback. You're 68. Come on, somebody. Oh, I gave you all kind of good stuff today. I'm glad y'all recording this. You can watch it a couple times. Break it down. You know, let's talk about watching something a couple times. I don't care what the news is. They call it infotainment. I don't care if it's conservative, liberal, whatever. Somebody watches that news every day. You try to talk them off of their position. They watch a conservative show every day, and you try to talk to them about, well, see the other side. They watch a liberal show every day. You tell them, watch the other side. You have better luck. I'm telling you, getting a camel through the eye of a needle, because they programmed their brain. They taught it over and over and over. I mean, I was down the other day, just Saturday night, and some topic came up, and the woman was with us was conservative, which is fine. Everybody has, I don't get into all that. Someone says it was like pushing a button. We had 2.5 hours of Fox and Friends. There was no stopping, girlfriend. And that's kind of what we do. We program our brain. We program our brain. It was cool, but after about a half hour, I'm like, how long are we going to go with this? It just, and so if you keep on teaching and reteaching over and over and over, it programs their brain over and over. I've seen both sides of that argument. Once you keep programming your brain, take what we're giving you today and show it, break it up in pieces, show it over and over and over. It'd be like watching, I don't know, CNBC or Fox. You get them so programmed, they're going to the voter booth, trust me, with a bazooka. Get out my way. So you want to program their brains on what we're talking about, of learning what not to pay attention to, having your 68, resiliency, and talking to you. And I'm going to pull this together. One phrase I want you to talk to you. Here goes. So what, now what? That's the baby. So what, now what? Learn to say so what to you a lot. Learn how not to pay attention to stuff. So what? Over and over. So what? There's stuff I don't like about getting older. I don't like it. You can sneeze and pull muscle. I don't like it. I like what Billy Crystal said, the comedian. I don't like it. You go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. It's in Morse code. I don't like it. You know what I like about getting older? Stupid stuff doesn't matter anymore. I don't pay attention to stuff. I learned to say, that's interesting. I learned to say, just let the small negative things happen so you get the big positive things. I learned to say, so what? Say what? Now what? I don't care what happens, it's now what? I don't care what happens. Changes in the workforce, now what? We had a pause of COVID, now what? Change in laws in our states, now what? So what, now what? Little town called Enterprise, Alabama. Oldie but goodie. They're growing cotton in 1910. The boll weevil comes and takes all the cotton. What do? You had all the answers. There's new questions. Isn't this year been a so what, now what year for all of us? Isn't it totally different? Those people able to do it. Some are surviving, but most are thriving. So what, now what? You go to Enterprise, Alabama today. Someone says, brand new crop called the peanut. They plant, they're wealthy from the peanut. You go to Enterprise today in the middle of town, there's a big statue of a bug. There's a caption, thank you, Mr. Boll Weevil, for the role you play in our prosperity. So what, now what? So what, now what? Let me tell you what I told you. You're doing something pretty important in more ways than you can imagine, because it's a critical habit, a keystone habit. So much is connected to what you do, how you help people. Do it for others. Do it for others. Do you realize everything that other people have given, even to you, to get you where you are? Do it for others. Have a reason why. Nerves of Steel is about resiliency, coming back after a setback. That's what it is. Nerves of steel, coming back after a setback. Get to a point where you have the skillful management of attention. The skillful management of attention. Learn what to stay on. The skillful management of attention. Train your mind on what to ignore. See a little, see a lot. See a lot, see nothing. Private speech. So what? Now what? I'm going to finish here. I keep them on my phone. I'm going to read you my Nerves of Steel top 10. Number 1. Don't let your current appetite forfeit your future feast. Stay focused in now. Don't pout. Don't get offended. It's a choice when you don't get what you want in that moment. There are 2 types of pains. The pain of discipline, the pain of regret. Choose wisely. Number 3, you can always change. You're not a rock. You're not a stone. You're not a tree. You're a human being. You can always, oh, that's just who I am. That's a sad statement. That's an irresponsible statement. Well, that's just how I am. Well, can you become somebody different? I go back to my hometown and they go, "You changed." I said, "I know. Why haven't you?" 4, you're not a born winner. You're not a born loser. You're a born chooser. 5, especially during these times, it's a lot more important what you become than what you get. What have you become the last 100 days? Has your faith shrunk? Hope? Vision? Like I said in my book, Believing is Seeing. Believe more, believe abundant, believe faith, believe blessings. You'll see it. Believe curses, believe things are worse. You'll see that too. 6, successful people do what others aren't willing to do. 7, success is a result of a few simple disciplines every day. 8, let others live a small life, not you. Let others cry small hurts, not you. Let others put their life in the hands of others, not you. Number 9, the few do are the envy of many who watch. And number 10, no matter how far you've come, no matter how far you've gone, no matter how you've blessed, no matter what your company's done to this point, we aren't done yet. We're not done. Never, ever done yet. I'm Dr. Kevin Elko, speaking to all my friends about safety. Listen to this over and over again. Attitude is not a gene. Attitude's a muscle. Go teach it. I believe in you, and I really believe in what you're doing. Something a lot more important to win a football game. A lot more important. May God bless each and one of you, show you his favor, and keep your family safe. I'm Dr. Kevin Elko.